Okay, as Professor Fahal introduced today's session, you can see my screen now. Huh? You can see my screen?
Yes,
Okay.
we can.
Yes, we can. Thank
Yeah, let me just go back to the PowerPoint presentation and start from the beginning. It's about research methods, the principles, and planning for them. And as Professor Fahad said, it's going to be just a primer, just a general introduction to research. And as I can see, many of you already have some experience. So for you, it's going to be maybe a revision to what you already know, but you are going to participate so that others can benefit from your own experience. And today's session, we hope, is going to be an opener, and then we can have other specialized workshops or webinars on the same subject, but taking different aspects of it, so we can go into deeper issues related to research in the future. But we can also address issues related to personal development, starting from communication, planning in general, change management, project management, different aspects on your own personal development as a professional. So this is going to be a kickoff sort of webinar. In this webinar today, we are going to go through the steps of research very quickly and very briefly, just an eye-opener or a primer for those who are not engaged in research yet, or they are just starting their engagement in research, or even those who have already conducted research and written theses for their master's degrees and so on. As you already know, in different fields, and research is one of them, it's not quite a black and white thing. It's not black and white. You can hear different techniques, different principles, different methods. So my first advice to you, you be open-minded, because an open mind will open doors for it. So be critical, yes, but not skeptical and not nihilistic. You don't say, no, I don't think so. No, this is not right. You need to keep an open mind. And this is in general, but in research in particular, what I'm going to discuss with you today, you might hear it differently from other people. So what I'm going to discuss, what I'm going to say is my own understanding of what and how should research be conducted. This is just the first advice from my side. Then what are we going to discuss? The 4 steps of research. We are going to introduce it. And then the first step, which is how do you plan for research? We will spend some time on this one because this is very important. So the 4 steps of research, we will start with the beginning of them, but we will go very quickly through the second 2, and we will spend some time in the last one because the beginning and the last are the most important. Although the other steps are also important, but without planning well and without reporting well, then you have a problem, even if you conduct the research, if you try to conduct your research well. So the planning for research is a very important aspect. Now for planning, we are going to discuss 2 issues. What are the decisions you need to take, and what are the preparations you need to make? So for the first step, just a reminder first, for research, you have 4 steps. The first step is planning. Now, those who have a good network, they have a good device, they have a good microphone. Can you share with us your thoughts about planning for research? Those who already done research, or those who are contemplating to do research, those who are joining us for the first time, they would like to learn about research. What do you think you do when you plan for research? Can we hear a few answers for that? Gunjan, yes, please, Gunjan, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, sir. I think from I am not a researcher, and this is just my opinion because I have been an academic research editor for the longest time of my career. So, from what I understand and what I have seen so far, I think the first step could be to select an appropriate topic, because selecting the right topic for your research is very, very important. And for that, you have to be you have to be well versed with what are the recent developments happening in your field right now. So you have to be abreast with what is happening so that you select the right topic, then select the right methodology for conducting the paper, uh, and then penning down the paper properly. So I think that is the planning you have to start right from this right before you start writing your paper, before you start conducting your paper, research. So you have to start creating a skeleton for your research. So that's what my opinion is.
Well, okay, thank you very much. I am going to pick two of what you said and then I start a list, and I would like others to add to the list. You said selecting a topic, an appropriate topic. Okay, that's good. And then you said you set a methodology. Okay. We are going to discuss that a little bit more. Anybody else? Planning. When do you plan for research other than selecting a topic? And then later on, we will come to what Gunjan said about picking methodology, because you pick different things. Anybody? Those who are doing the PhD, who is doing PhD? I think Lamis. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Iman, can I participate? So,
Yeah. Then
oh, some
Roa.
people have raised their hands.
Yeah,
I am Iman.
yeah, okay.
I think it's a planning, it's a framework that you would set before starting your research that would include the whole plan that you are going to set for your project, from the title, research questions, objectives of the research, to the expected outcomes and the whole
Can we
research.
talk? Can we talk in the form of a list rather than a narrative? Because we want to make the list. So we started with one thing mentioned by Gunjan. You select a research topic. Then what? You said many things. Just mention them one at a time so that we can,
Okay.
a discussion.
Research question.
So you mean you need to convert the topic into a research question? Yes, okay.
Yes, and I'll mention another one, and I'll leave the chance to another person, and then setting up objectives of the research.
Yes, then you set the objectives for the research. Uh-huh. Okay, good. As you can see, these three are decisions you need to take. You need to take a decision, what sort of topic. You need to take a decision, what sort of research question. You need to take a decision, what are the objectives. You decide. Okay, let us listen to Roa. Okay, Roa, go ahead.
Yes, I would like to add like one or more tips. Like you need to answer the question. Like when you set the research in question, you need to ask yourself what the research, how the methodology I'm going to follow, and why I'm doing this research.
Okay. What do you mean answer the question? She already said we select a topic, خلاص. Okay, we selected a topic, whatever. I would like to see the effect of social media on social interaction. I need to know how is social media affecting the interaction of people. خلاص. I selected the topic. I converted it into a research question. This could be, does social media have a negative effect on social interaction? Or what are the effects of social media on social interaction? So I convert the topic into a research question. Then I break down this research question into objectives. The first objective, I would like to see whether there is an effect or the cause and what are the effects and what is the extent of the effect. So I can make a number of, okay, لحد هنا you are now listing the decisions you need to take. Can I convert what Gunjan mentioned about selecting a methodology? Actually, you select appropriate research design, which is appropriate for your research question. So what sort of design? Okay, let me give a chance to Huyam. Yes, Huyam. Huyam, yes. Okay. The lady who is using Muhammad Ahmed computer.
My name is Sahar.
Yes, Sahar. Okay, Sahar, go ahead.
Research hypothesis.
When you have a question, you also decide on the hypothesis. What do you mean, hypothesis?
Hypothesis, that mean it's the construction that I built on it, my research. So it's a base for me that let's assume that I have a problem. Then this problem, to have a research on it, I have to decide my hypothesis for and also hypothesis for each question for the research and to solve the problem, and that also to make the problem is a problem can be is a problem is will be solved is positive or negative, or it will be achieved the reasons that the research have been done for it or not.
Well, if I can rephrase, we already specified the research question. When we say the hypothesis, the expected answer for the research. And this is, by the way, a statistical term which has got a very specific meaning. Because the time is not enough to go into the details of everything, but statisticians say whatever you expect, the opposite to that is called the null hypothesis. Is there an association between this and that? Your research question is like this. What do you expect? Yes, you expect an association between two things. What is the null hypothesis? There is no association between those two things. Anyhow, we don't want to go into the details of the research hypothesis, but it is what you expect, and then you will say the opposite of it is the null hypothesis, and actually your expectations is called the alternative hypothesis. And this is important when you come to analyzing your data. So this is regarding the research hypothesis. Okay, we are doing fine. So go ahead. Yeah.
Sorry, I was muted. So I think what we should also consider is like we should start with reviewing the literature, knowing where to start, what to do, and then based on this and your research questions, you should also consider the right collaboration, because of course the research is built upon the appropriate collaboration. So based on your maybe the areas or the things you are trying to find in your research, you should also consider the right or the collaborators.
Well, what you mentioned is important, but for us to complete the list, we are going, as you can see in the list, we started with something, then we moved into another step related to that, then we went into another step related to that, and we're moving stepwise in the first phase, which is the planning phase.
Okay.
It was mentioned rightly, the first thing you do is, what is the topic? What is the topic you are going to address? And then you convert that topic into a research question. And then, as your colleague said, you specify the hypothesis for that research question. Then you go into the objectives to answer that question. Because you might have one hypothesis, one objective to answer that question, but you might have a number of objectives to answer one question. For example, I will use this example through the webinar. If I want to study the effect of social media on people, I just want to study the effect of social media on people. my first question would be, my first objective, does social media affect people? Does it affect them positively? Does it affect them negatively? If it affects them positively, what sort of effects and to what extent? So I can break down my research question into a number of objectives I would like to fulfill by conducting the research. And at the end, I'm going to answer the question after I fulfill all the objectives. So this is as far as the steps we are going. Then somebody mentioned something about the methodology. I said, yes, you select the appropriate study design. Are you going to just observe, or you are going to experiment? Are you going to experiment? Are you going to observe? Are you going to compare? So there are different study designs. We can list them later on, but we want to finish the first list, this list first. To plan for your research, there are a number of things you need to decide. It is decisions to take. Selecting a topic, it's a decision. The research question is a decision. Objectives are a decision. While you are doing that, you specify, why are you doing this? This is called the rationale, because people will ask you, why do you want to conduct this research? And this goes into stating the problem. When you state the problem, you mention the issue you want to address. Why do you want to address it? And what are the objectives? What is the question? All that are called the statement of the problem. Okay, somebody mentioned reviewing the literature. Was it you, Hiam? Yes.
Yes, it was me.
Yeah. Okay, now we are going into another planning area. The first planning area was decisions to take. What sort of sample you are going to take? What sort of population? How are you going to select the sample size? What is the sample size? How are you going to calculate? All these issues are decisions. But now you need to do preparations. You need to prepare things. The preparations are three major things. Reviewing the literature and writing a literature review. This is important. Preparing a data collection tool. This is important. How are you going to collect data? In what form? And then the writing of a research proposal. So as you can see, you move from decisions into preparations. You need to prepare these things. And of course, for each of these, let me just go into this conduction analysis reporting. Okay, sorry. Now, we said we are going to do some decisions. Let me just list them. You already mentioned them. You select a topic and decide on question and objectives. What is the suitable study design? Population and sampling, variables, data, and data analysis approaches. You make decisions about these issues, and then you select the appropriate data collection tool and method. Now, I don't want to go into these details, the study designs, observational studies, etc. You decide on these things and the sampling, which sampling method you are going to use, and so on. Now you finished with all these issues, decisions. You made these decisions, calculated the sample size, and selected the power of the study. You made all the decisions you wanted. And you selected the variables you are going to include, and then the types of data you make all of these decisions. How are you going to analyze data? Now, there are as I said, three major preparations. The literature, writing the literature review, or reviewing the literature first and then writing the literature review, and then prepare a data collection instrument, tool, or form. Here, I just want to raise a discussion, a small discussion, but it's important. Now, I have a question for you. Just to stimulate the discussion. What is a survey and what is a questionnaire? I just want to shed light on data collection tools first before we go to the second preparation. So what is a survey and what is a questionnaire? Are they the same? Are they different? Anybody? Gunjan, is your raised hand the same as before, or this is a new raise?
It was, I did not, but I can try answering this. I might be wrong. I think questionnaire is the tool we prepare for conducting the survey. So you prepare the questionnaire for the participants for your sample, and then you distribute it to conduct the survey. I think that so questionnaire is the tool and survey is the method that you use.
Thank you very much. I would like to hear from the other. What do you think about what Gunjan said? Is it accurate? Is it right? Is it what you thought about when I asked the question? In fact, yes, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
Survey and questionnaires, both of them are method for data collection, but the survey we do collection and analysis, and in questionnaire just we ask and collect the samples.
Okay, and what do you do with the questionnaire? Whether it's, as you said, whether it's a survey or it's a questionnaire, at the end you need to analyze the data. But Gunjan said survey is a method. Questionnaire is a tool you use in a survey. You can use other tools, and you can use a question. Usually questionnaires are used for surveys. We don't call it as a questionnaire if it is a data collection form in which you ask some questions. So, by the way, the differentiation between the two is very subtle, but Gunjan hit the jackpot. The survey is a method, and a survey can be conducted through using a questionnaire, but a survey can be conducted using a checklist. A survey can be conducted using a small group discussion, focus group discussion. So a survey is a method and a questionnaire is a tool. And this is, thank you very much. So these are the differences between survey and questionnaire. But what survey is one study design. What are the study designs? But by the way, who is IT? In the attendees, who is information technology?
Well, I think Mona should IT.
Yes, I'm IT.
Yeah.
Okay.
Computer science, yeah.
What sort of research do you do?
Now my research, my PhD on geoinformatics system. Now I'm making analysis for analyzing satellite data for remote sensing and for remote sensing using GIS techniques.
So you are not observing something, you are actually doing something, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm doing it from satellite data and so many imagery. I make analysis and extract for my research.
Wait. We want to classify
Yeah.
research into two types. One type, you intervene in an event, you make an experiment.
Yes.
The other type, you just observe, you just collect data, you don't intervene in whatever is happening, and you just analyze whatever data you collect. Which one is it? Are you going to just collect data of something which is already happening? or you are going to do something and then see the results of your experiment?
No, I'm going to do something and make some analysis to see the result.
Do something, do what?
For example, I'm working on classification, something called classification on imagery, to extract, for example, some meaning from the satellite imagery, and do, for example, my first work on making 3D modeling for towns or something like this.
But you're going to collect data which is already there. It's a satellite imagery, isn't it?
Yeah, from satellite imagery or for aerial imagery, I can make analysis and see first classify this I make select for many items, for example, buildings, roads, and so on. So make classification and then make 3D modeling for the town.
Yeah, but what you are going to make, you're going to make from the data you collected, huh?
Yeah, from the data I collected from satellite or imagery data or any data available for me.
You are not experimenting. You are not doing any experiment. You are
No,
not.
I make experiment by making, because I'm running my algorithm. I run 2 algorithms now, and now for at the end I have to modify some of the one of these 2 algorithms to see what's new in the new algorithm that I'm working on with.
Okay, for maybe we don't understand very much IT research. What if I ask?
No. In IT research here, for example, I have 2 algorithms. For example, in my work, I have to run 2 or many algorithms. For example, machine learning algorithms, and see the result. And then, for example, for the third algorithm that I have to modify in the algorithm to see the new result. Does it give me a new accuracy for the data, or the new classification, new classification? So here I have to add to modify for the algorithms with my own code to have a new result, to get a new result for my research.
Okay. So it is some sort of an experimental research. You are
It's experimental result, not observation.
not observation. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Our colleagues from the medical field, are you aware of this classification of research, whether the researcher intervenes with the event or not? Can one of you tell us a little bit about this? Based on intervention of the researcher, research is classified into 2 types. Can any of you, because I want to fit this survey into that classification. Anyone? Research assistants, master's degree students, PhD students.
Iman, can you answer this, Iman?
Are you
Yes.
aware?
Yes, Iman, yes.
So the researches could be either observational or interventional, experimental.
Okay.
So it's either you observe something and then you comment on it, or
Yeah.
you apply, for example, a new technique, a new treatment for a
Okay.
group of people, and then you follow them up and come up with the results. So these are the 2 different
Exactly.
types. It's yes.
What they call this? What they call the last one?
Experimental.
Experimental, yes.
There are
Yes.
many names for it. Experimental is the general term, whether you are doing the
Yeah.
experiment in the population or in the lab or in the clinical field, I mean the hospital. They are all experimental, but
Yes.
clinicians prefer interventional for research on people, on patients. They call it interventional. But intervention can be a population. You can intervene by having a preventive measure, or you can intervene by introducing exercise in a community or whatever. So
A new
intervention
technique, yes, maybe. Yes, yes.
in IT, for example, what Mona tells us is that they are actually experimenting with a new model and to see how it affects whatever they are doing. So it is some sort of an experimental. But I understood at the beginning that they are going to collect data and analyze this data and then come up with results. Then in that way, it's an observational study. One of the observational studies they do in other fields other than health, they call them case studies, whether it is in business, in IT, in sociology. They go there somewhere and they observe people and they report a case. This is called a case study. A survey is another type of observation. Now, case study or case for medicine, we call it case report. If we have a case report or a case study or a survey, you are just observing one group and you are reporting that. And for this observational studies, this is a descriptive type of observational study. If you compare, you are observing, but you are observing two comparative groups and you compare between them, then this is called the comparative or analytic type of observational research. So if we go back and classify, research can be observational, the researchers do not intervene, or experimental, the researchers do some sort of an experiment. When we go back to observational, they can be just descriptive, when you observe one group and describe that group, or you observe more than one group and they compare between them, then it's a comparative or analytic observation. The interventional, they can be population interventions, they can be laboratory interventions or experiments, experiments. They can be clinical. The clinical interventions, as you know, they are called clinical trials. They are called clinical trials. In business, in IT, in sociology, they call them action research. Action research. They, for example, they produce a new application, and they would like to check whether this application will produce results. So they conduct an action research. They introduce this app for a group of people, and they leave the other group to use the old application, and then they compare between the two. This is an experimental research. They can also make a trial. A trial means they produce a new computer application, and then they apply that computer application in an environment, in a business, in a university, or whatever, and they anticipate the effect of this application when it is introduced. And they can also test it. Does it work? Will people react with it? And etc. So all of this is called experimental research. If you do an action or a trial, then it is called a trial or an action research or an interventional research. Again, researches are classified into observational when the researcher does not intervene or does not conduct an experiment, or experimental if the researcher does some sort of an intervention or an action or an experiment. The survey is just one of these examples. So this is the second thing, other than you have to design a data collection tool or an instrument. Whatever you do, whether you are observing or you are intervening and experimenting, at the end, you would like to collect data. And to collect that data, you need to design a data collection instrument or tool. So there are various data collection tools or instruments. Questionnaire is the most widely used. Interviews and discussions records, checklists, data collection forms like the one used in clinical trials. They just collect data from patients or collect data from the laboratory. So all of these are called data collection tools. Okay, now the preparations to make. The first one is preparing the actual data collection tool. You already decided which one you are going to use. You need to prepare it. When you prepare it, there are standards and guidelines for these tools. Now, there are books, in fact, about how to prepare an effective questionnaire, how to prepare an electronic data collection form. By the way, are you aware of the various data collection forms that you can use? I want you to list for me at least 5 that you know. Anybody knows of an electronic data collection tool? Yes? Are you?
Do you mean like the Google Sheet and
Not Google Sheet, but Google Form.
yeah,
The sheet
Google
is,
Forms, I mean, yes. Sorry.
yeah, Google Form, also Microsoft Form. The official, the prescriptions are like SurveyMonkey. I just want to show you one which is free and very good. It's called, just a minute. There is one, yes. This is called Question Pro. It's an excellent website. If you go to Question Pro, it will tell you many things about probability sampling, how do you collect the sample, and in that, they have a form that you can use. So this is another one. So there are many, in fact, there are many electronic data collection forms. Another important website I would like you to be aware of is called Scriber, without an E there, Scriber without an E. And this website is an excellent one. It will give you tools, it will give you information about different aspects of research in a very nice way. It's called Scriber. Types of variables in research and statistical examples. This is the methodology. You can go to the knowledge base. They have many things there. Excellent website. So if I want to advise you about 2 websites you need to know about, useful during the planning stage of research, I will tell you Question Pro and Scriber. Okay, let us go and continue with this part. Now, I said you need to prepare a data collection tool. You need to write a literature review. And of course, to write a literature review, you need to know about where to find literature and how to actually manage these publications you collect. And so you need to know about citation managers. So you need to be aware about a lot of things to be able to conduct an effective literature review and write a proper literature review. Now, and lastly, you need to write a research proposal. Now, very quickly, you need to be able to search for literature. You need to be able to sort and prioritize the retrieved literature. You need to read these papers analytically, and then you need to evaluate the reading, your evaluative reading. I mean, you decide whether this paper is worth using in your literature review or not. So you need to be evaluative, and you can compare across the studies, and then you organize the content before you can actually write the review. So these are the steps for reviewing the literature. The last bit of it is actually writing the review. If you go out of this webinar with this statement at the end, the review should be a critical summary. And this has got a lot of meanings. Maybe in another session, we go into the details of the writing of the literature review. And there is a reference, there are many references about how to write a review. Now, finally, you need to write a research proposal. You need to write a research proposal. By the way, one question very quickly before we go into the next slide. Why do we write research proposals? خلاص نحن we made many decisions. You prepared the literature review, you prepared the data collection form, you made all the decisions. What is the research question? What are the objectives? And all of those decisions. You need to compile them into a research proposal. Now, why? First of all, why? Then we see how. Why do we write a research proposal? Those who already wrote research proposal or those who want to write a research proposal, why do you think it's important to write a research proposal? Okay, there are two major reasons.
To get a fund,
To get, yeah,
a fund for research.
to apply for a fund. Because when you apply for a
Yes.
fund, they need to know what exactly are you going to do and how exactly are you going to do it and why do you want to do this research? So what, why, and how. So you need to include in your research, in your proposal, these elements, and you write them in a particular way. So this is the first. You need to write the proposal in a way that is going to be winning. When you apply for a fund, you get that fund. It should be convincing. So this is one reason. What other reasons?
To get approved
Approval from whom?
from the authority that I applying for the research.
Yes, but can you make it clearer?
For
If it-
example,
if it's a requirement, I mean, if I am doing a master's degree or a PhD degree, or I'm doing a research for a commissioning agent, then I need to write exactly also what am I going to do, why am I going to do it, and how am I going to do it, and then I submit it for approval, as you mentioned, approval by the authority for which I am required to write a proposal. If you are enrolled in a degree program and doing research is actually partial fulfillment, then you need to write a proposal, you need to submit it, you need to discuss it, get it approved before you actually go for the research. So this is the second reason. What else? Yes.
It could be also the justification of the research.
Justification to whom?
Maybe to the peers or the research community, the scientific community, because usually the research proposal include the rationale for the research, why it's important, the significance, and like it's where.
But you need to submit it to somewhere. When you say community, these are vague.
Okay, maybe it could be the research committees at certain institutes, or it could be research board.
Yeah,
It depends on the kind of the proposal you are writing, and also the kind of research you are conducting.
Now we mentioned two, and what you mentioned is actually within these two. Yani you said you submitted to a research committee. What for? It is either approval or funding, isn't it? Whether it is research related to a degree or research in an institution. For example, we work in a university, we would like to conduct research and publish it. We either apply for funding to the or for approval. Is it part of a degree? Is it a requirement? Here I need approval. I need approval also before I apply for funding. So it is either approval or funding. What else? Even applying for what they call the institutional review board, it is for approval, because I needed to approve the part which is the ethical component of it and all of that. So approvals, this is a big sign. And then funding. So approval, funding. What else? Because we already we just have one third reason why we write research proposals. Approval, funding, and it's a roadmap because you need to work hard during this planning stage and put everything in one document and use that document as the roadmap for your research. And by the way, I need to initiate another discussion. What is the difference between...
Excuse me, excuse me.
Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, the proposal is the Bible for research.
Yes. Yes.
And it is really, you have to follow everything written in this proposal rigidly and religiously. And you
Yes.
should not deviate whatsoever from these proposal items.
It is the road.
And the roadmap.
Yeah.
And you are going to be evaluated. Any diversion from this will be a violation of your research. Thank you.
So whether you write it for yourself and your group, or you write it for funding, or you write it for approval, you need to stick to what you wrote there. As Professor Fahal mentioned, it is something sacred. So I want to ask a question in relation to this. What is the difference between a proposal and a protocol? The research proposal and the research protocol.
I think the research protocol, that the rules that you need to follow when you write your research.
When you write, or where you conduct.
Yes, yes.
So part of the research proposal is the research protocol, or they call it the research methodology. The exact steps. I am going to calculate the sample size first. Then I am going to select the participants using this type of technique. Then I am going either to distribute for them a questionnaire. Then I am going to collect the data in this way. Then I am going to code the data and analyze it. Then I am going to do this. I am going to do that. The research methodology. It is called, the other name for it is the research protocol. And it is part of the research proposal, because the research proposal has got different elements. You can see them on the left of the screen. You need to have a title, an abstract, a rationale, a research question, a methodology, an analysis schedule, etc. So you have different elements in your research proposal. Now, do you have any questions? This is the first part of this session. It is the first part of the conduction of research, which is planning for your research. To sum up, you need to make decisions about what you want to do, why you want to do it, and how are you going to do it. You make the decisions first. Then you make preparations. When you make preparations, you prepare your literature review, you prepare your data collection form, and you write your research proposal. Then you either get it approved or get the funding, and then you move into the second step. Any questions in that before we move into our second part of this webinar?
Somebody asked about objective.
Yes. Let me stop sharing and go into the Abdullah wala Halima?
I'm not sure. Somebody asked about what is objective.
Knowing which research, clarifies research objective, demonstrate feasibility, defines research questions or hypotheses, shows significance and originality, budget planning, ethical considerations. Okay. هنا حليمة قالت proposal is report plan which the research will adhere to achieve the research aims. Okay. Somebody said, when we accept the null hypothesis and reject it, Well, in fact, this part we didn't want to go into the details of that because this is part of the analysis, the third step. Let us review the 4 steps of research. The first step is planning, and I said planning is very important. This is why we are going to spend some time discussing planning. Now, once you plan, you collect data, whether before intervention, if it's an observational study, or after, before and after the intervention, if it's an interventional or experimental study. When you collect the data, you come and analyze it. Part of the analysis of data, there is something called hypothesis testing. And I mentioned that at the beginning of the webinar. I said when you say a research question, social media affect the social interaction. This is a question بتاعي, does social media affect social interaction? My expectations, yes, it does. This is my expected answer. Now I am going to say the null hypothesis for this is that it doesn't affect. The alternative hypothesis is that it does. Then I am going to test the null hypothesis. If I don't find any relationship between social media and social interaction, here I actually accepted the null hypothesis, that there is no relationship. When you accept the null hypothesis, then the answer to your question is no, there is no relationship between social media and social interaction. If there is a relationship, and this relationship is a significant, statistically significant relationship between the two, here I reject the null hypothesis. I prove or accept the alternative hypothesis. Then I can say my research actually proved that there is a relationship between social media and social interaction. Maybe I will have another question. Is it a positive or a negative? Then I will say I analyzed, and then I said the null hypothesis is that it's a positive relationship. My alternative hypothesis is that it's a negative relationship. And then I check if it's a negative relationship. Now I have rejected the null hypothesis and accepted the alternative hypothesis. How can I think this is calculate the sample size, and according to what we okay. Okay, I will answer that, but briefly because that's a big issue. What is the difference between checklist and a questionnaire? Okay, let me answer the second one first. A checklist is just whether something is or well, it's a checklist. For example, I go into a place and then I start asking about a yes or no questions. Do people do this? Do people come early or they come late? When they come, do they do this? Yes, no, tick, 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 tick. Is this, do they have this? Yes or no? So it's a checklist. But a questionnaire, it could be any sort of question, not just whether something is yes or no. Some of the questions might be a yes or no questions, but other questions, what is your occupation? What is your occupation? What do you do? How do you do these things? I can ask any sort of question. It's a questionnaire. It's a questionnaire. But if it is just a checklist, a yes or no, it is done or not done, it is done appropriately or not, then this is a checklist. It's just a checklist. Okay, somebody asked, how do you calculate the sample size and according to what? I'm going to address this very briefly. I will take you back to this part because I have a link there I can use to actually show you, but very briefly. Experiment. Okay. 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 When you calculate the sample size, it depends on the study design. And you need to know that there are two types of study design: population studies and other studies. When I say population studies, I am going to calculate through the study the statistics of the sample. For example, if I take a sample of young boys and measure their height, and then I calculate the average height of children in the sample. And then I need to generalize this. I want to make this as a parameter of a population. I want to say school children, the height of school children is between this and that. I'm going to use the statistics of a sample to generalize it to a population. If it's a population study, you need the population size. You cannot calculate a sample size if you do not know the population size. So if I want to calculate the average height of school children in Khartoum, خلينا نقول الجزيرة state, I need to know how many school children we have in Jazeera state. So to be able to calculate a sample size for a population study, you need the population size. Okay. The second thing you need to is the level of confidence. Yani, if I say the average height of a school child in Al Jazeera state is that long, to what extent I would like to be confident that this result I am getting is close to the truth. In this, you need to say, my level of confidence, I want to make it 95%. It's a more 95% confidence level. If I want to be more precise, more accurate and precise, I'm going to say, no. I want to be 99% confident. Now, this level of confidence will change the sample size. The more you want to be more confident, the larger the sample size. So you need to state your level of confidence. Okay, there is something else called the statistical power of your study. You need to also determine the statistical power, and this statistical power relates to the null hypothesis and the alternative hypothesis, and the ability of the power to actually reject or accept the null hypothesis. So the statistical power is important, and in relation to that, there are two types of errors depending on this power. The level of confidence will determine what they call alpha error, and the statistical power will determine the beta error. And these two are important for the calculation of the sample size. So you need to know the population size, the level of confidence, and related to that, the alpha error. When I mean the alpha error, it means to what extent my results can be due to chance. If I choose 95% confidence level, the chance, the probability that my result is due to chance is 5%. If I say the level of my confidence is 99%, the chance of the error is only 1%. Now, the statistical power relates to the ability of the statistical test, or actually the research, to reject or approve the hypothesis. And in that, there is something called type beta error or type 2 error. So this is what you need to know when you want to calculate. In addition to that, you need estimates of exposure and effect, and you use these not for population studies, for other types of studies, comparative studies. So this is what you need when you calculate the sample size. Now, I want to just show you how you calculate it using a software. This is a software found in something called openepi.com, and this is it's actually prepared for epidemiology, clinical epidemiology, but others can also use it to calculate the sample size. You go to the website, and in the website, it will give you many tools, And if you look at the left side, there is power, there is sample size. You click
Not
on
shown,
sample.
sir. It's not shown.
Yeah, I'm not, yeah, I stopped sharing. Let me go to their tab. And then I'm going to share screen. Can you see my screen now?
Yeah, yes.
Yes, okay. Let me go to the PowerPoint because I want to show you how it looks like. This is www.openapi.com, and you go to that site, and in that site, you will find on the left many tools that you can use. There is a calculator, there are count, there are percentile, variables, and there is sample size. There is, by the way, a very important something called random numbers generator. If you want to generate random numbers, you go to that one and you generate random numbers. So you go to sample size there and decide, is it a proportion? Is it a population study? Or is it unmatched case control? Is it a cohort study? Is it a randomized control trial? Is it the mean difference comparative study? So you select. When you select a proportion, which is the population research, it will ask you to actually specify the population size. It will ask you to enter the anticipated frequency. And it will ask you to enter your confidence limit or confidence level. When I say confidence limit, it is the remaining of the 100. When I say confidence level, it is the actual level. So 95% is confidence level. So the confidence limit is 5%. And then there's something else. You just keep it at 1. And then you say calculate. It will give you the sample size for the different confidence levels. So this is how you calculate a sample size for a proportional study. But if you choose a cohort study, for example, for a cohort study, here you don't need a sample, a population size. It will go straight away to the confidence level, which is 90%, 95%. And then it will ask you about the power of your study. Usually they use 80% power so that the error type 2 error is only 0.2% or 0.2 or 20%. And then this is the ratio percent unexpected. This you just keep them as they are, but you specify these two, and then you go to the lower part and you specify any of these, fill any of these. If you know the odds ratio, if you know the percent of exposed with outcome, etc. For example, if I put here 40% of exposed, will have the result, and then I say calculate. It will also give me the sample size. My advice to you, you only need to know the basic information to answer the question, because it's a tough thing to actually go into its details, but this is what you need to know. Again, if it's a population study, a proportion study, you need to know the population size. You need to decide on your level of confidence of your statistical power, and you need to estimate the prevalence of an exposure and an effect, because the application will ask you about this. And if you need to know about the level of confidence, I'm going to share with you this PowerPoint presentation, by the way. So you need to know the difference between the errors, type 1 error, type 2 errors, and all of that, because you will be asked when you use this application. Okay? This is, I know it's a brief answer because it's a complex issue and it needs time to be explained. Okay, calculate. Can you send the link? Yes. Okay. You want the link for the website? Let me go to the website there, open API. Sample size calculator. Actually, I'm going to send you the link for the sample size calculator straight away, and it is there in the chat. Okay, we spent more time than we expected. I stop the sharing now. So if there are no questions, we will just very quickly. After you wrote your proposal, get it passed by the EP Institutional Review Board, the IRB, gets it accepted by any authority. It says, halas, it's accepted. Now you conduct your research. We are not going to go into the details of your research. You are either going to collect data from a population. And by the way, data collected can either be from people or about people. You can either, about people, you can go to records. Data from people, you use questionnaires and all of that. Just a minute, I'm going to go less than 5 minutes. Less than 5 minutes. I want to share my screen again. Share screen, go to the PowerPoint there, and then go to conduction. And now I'm going to very quickly go through what you need to do when you collect data. Of course, a reminder first. This is what you do. You do the sampling and you select the sample. And then you do experimentation and interventions if you have one. Then you collect data and then you analyze data. So these are the 4 steps. And now very quickly, of course, there are 2 types of data and all of that, I think all of that. But as I mentioned, you either collect data from people or about people. So you collect from records, from databases, this is about people, and you from the internet, data sets and analytics, and from laboratories. This is data about people or from people. From people, you can collect it from the body of the person or from the mind of the person of the person. From the body by examining the person or by asking the person questions. So this is about data collection. Then this is the steps of conduction. You select the sample of participants, you collect the data if it is observational, and you record the baseline data if needed before experimentation, and they carry out your laboratory work if it is experimental, and then you collect the data. So you collect the sample and sampling and all of that. Okay, and these are the probability sampling, the methods that you use to select your sample. And then during experimentation, there are biases you need to avoid, and you need to know something about the different types of bias that are going to affect your results. And they are called confounding, and they are all starting with a C. This is when you conduct research. Then you analyze. These are the tools you use for data collection. We already discussed that. And then this data, this is how you deal with data. You prepare the data, you clean it, you manipulate it, you collate it, you examine it, and you analyze it. So you do all of that. I went through this because I wanted you to know before you actually starting to write, you need to conduct research, you need to collect data, you need to manage data. You prepare it, you collate it, you examine it, you analyze it. Now you have results. Now you have results, okay? Now you have results. We would like to stop the sharing. We have these are the second and third steps of research. The first was planning, I mean. The second one is conduction of the research and data collection. The third one is data management and analysis. The fourth step is actually scientific writing and publication. Scientific writing and publication. Now, for that, we have our colleagues from Accuracy. After I just give a very brief introduction, they are going to step in and tell you how can they help during the writing or actually during publishing. From my side, just a quick introduction. Share. Okay. The fourth step of research is actually report writing. Report writing. And when we say report writing, you can write, you can prepare a poster, you can prepare a PowerPoint presentation to present it in a conference, you can write a thesis or a dissertation, and you can write a manuscript for publication, and you can write a report for a commissioning agent. And somebody gave you some sort of an assignment, and you finish the assignment, and he wants a report. So you can write a report, prepare a poster, a PowerPoint presentation, a thesis or dissertation, or a manuscript for publication. So, and most of them depend on these three major issues. There are principles for scientific writing as part of the academic writing. There are important issues related to authorship and publication ethics. You need to be able to evaluate scientific papers, because if you do, when you write properly. So it's reverse engineering. I advise you to learn how to read a paper. There is a book, by the way, I can share it with you later. It's called How to Read a Paper. How to read a paper, not how to write a paper. If you read that book and you apply the principles for scientific evaluation of scientific publications, then you will be able to write absolutely wonderfully. Now, you also need to know about publishing and the researcher's identity, how you build your own researcher identity. We can, by the way, because of this is very important webinar, this publishing and researcher identity, we can prepare for it in the future. We give you a full webinar about publishing and researcher identity, and our colleagues from Accuracy are more than willing to step in again and share in that webinar. So what you need to know, very important, what are the principles of scientific writing? As I told you, these are the sort of reports you need to prepare, and all of them depend on something known as the IMRAD structure. You need to know about this IMRAD, an introductory section, and methodology section, and results and discussion section. And for each of them, there are standards of writing. And what you need to cover, what did the researcher investigate? Why was it done? The purpose, the aim, the rationale, the justification, and how was it done? You need to describe that. And what was found, and so what? You need to actually explain the benefit of your finding. Now, there are, this just to show you that there are many resources. By the way, when I share with you this PowerPoint, you can actually click on any of these and it will take you straight to the document. So these are clickable links you can use to learn about publishing. For example, this is one example. It's called Learning and Instruction. This is a very important also website. It is a Pan-American Health Organization, and there they have resources about scientific writing. Also, you can go to the journals. They give something called an instruction to authors. But I want to share with you a very important website that you can benefit from when you are preparing your manuscript. This Frontiers is wonderful. You can go to this Frontiers, and it has got resources that can help you prepare different types. They are called author guidelines. There are general standards. There are different templates. There are even Word templates. There are LaTeX templates, very important, and also the interactive reviews, etc. So these are very useful resources you can consult, and they can help you actually prepare manuscripts. So let me go back to the PowerPoint. Frontiers. Now, there is another very important website. It is called Equator. And this Equator actually gives what they call statements. Statements to help you report. It is called Enhancing the Quality and Transparency of Health Research. And it will give you different type of statements on how to report. They call them reporting guidelines for the main study types. If you are doing an observational study, you use this one. If you're doing a systematic review, you use this one. If you study protocol, how to write it. So these are useful resources that you can use to, in fact, prepare your manuscript. Now, also, there is an important document prepared by the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, ICJMJE, and this prepared a statement. I'm not going to click. This is another resource. This is a statement. And now you have the writing tips, and you need to know where to keep your... Now, this is important. I want you to know about this. There is something new called collaborative editing. When you are preparing a manuscript as a group, you can use this collaborative editing. You can actually use them through cloud computing, for example, Google Docs, also Office 365, and Dropbox, and other online editors. The most important of them is called the LaTeX. And this is now a project, a big project. It's free of charge. It's very helpful, this LaTeX project. And this LaTeX project is now shared with something else through this share LaTeX. It is shared with Overleaf. So I want you to remember these three, LaTeX and Overleaf, and together they share a website, and then you can do some collaborative editing. So Overleaf plus share are very useful. There are many books about scientific writing, and then we have our colleagues that are going to talk to you about this part, this writing. What other advice they have for you. Now, other issues, I'm not going to discuss the ethics part of it. This is the ethical part of it, but the publication ethics and all of that. But I'm not going to cover this evaluation of scientific publications. But this is part what you need to know, and our colleagues from Accuracy are going to deal with this part in a little while. Publishing. You need to be aware about where and how to publish. This is very important. There are some indexing agencies. You need to be aware about these, and you need to be about the terms used. What is high impact journal? How do I know these high impact journals? What are the indexing agencies, the famous ones? And of course, you need to at least know this: Clarivate Analytics, Elsevier, PubMed, Google Scholar, and EBSCO. These are the most important indexing agencies you need to be aware of as a researcher. And you need to know about the indices they use for ranking, like these, the SJR, the impact factor, etc., and the IF impact factor, etc. So I just wanted you to know that certain issues you need to be aware of if you want to be a good a researcher, writing good manuscript and publishing in high impact journal. And there is a list of these journals in there. Clarivate, Thomson Reuters, Web of Science, Scopus, and you need to have your own identity or ID, the researcher's identity or the ORCID. Maybe they are going to tell you more about it. So now I step down and introduce to you, they will introduce themselves. I think Gunjan is the one who is going to take it from here.
Yes.
Go ahead, Gunjan. Stop sharing.
Yes, let me just share my screen quickly. So is my screen visible to everyone?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable time. It definitely took me back to my study days. It was really a very, very interesting and educative session. And I know we are already exceeding the time limit that we had kept for ourselves. So I'm not going to take much of your time. I'm quickly going to take this time to introduce you to Accuracy. But before I introduce you to Accuracy and before I tell you what we do, I want to just give you this awareness about academic editing and what is this whole thing about and what are these companies like people like academic editors doing. For this, it is very, very important for all of you to understand the importance of language, the importance of academic editing in this whole research cycle. Now, as already mentioned, this step is the last step when you have already conducted your research, you've already written your paper. That is when professionals like us come into the picture and help you complete this cycle. Now, how do we do that? So this step is the last step, but it is very, very important because no matter how the research is conducted, no matter how good you are a researcher, if the research is not presented well, if it is not according to the academic standards, if it is not according to the journal guidelines, the academic writing style, chances are your paper will be rejected. Chances are that your purpose will not be solved. So we consider this as a very noble cause because we know that a lot of researchers out there are facing this problem of communication barrier. One, because English not being their first language, it is very difficult to communicate in the best possible way to the highest standards of academic editing, because these high impact journals that sir has just shown have very high standards of academic English, and they have very high standards of the language that they want you to present your document in. So this is where we come in. So at Accuracy, now also before that, a lot of you might already be using these services. This might not be new for you, or a lot of you might not be knowing about this. But unfortunately, we realize this, the importance of language in this whole research cycle. We realize it at a very later stage, either when our papers are rejected, because believe it or not, a major reason of journal rejections is the way the paper is presented. The journal does not accept the language issues, the content issues in the paper, and that is why the papers are rejected by the journal. Now, they might not be rejected, but there are a lot of to and fro with the journal that happens. There are a lot of to and fros with the reviewers that happen. So this impacts the entire morale of the researcher, because they put in so much effort into researching their conducting their research and writing the paper, and when ultimately they have to face this issue, it lowers down the morale, and that is where we want to come in, step in, and take that stress away from the researchers. And this is why academic editing is so important. Now, I want to take this moment to introduce Accuracy to you. We are a team of editors who are dedicated to increasing the impact and quality of your research through our meticulous editing. Now, what sets us apart is we do not just focus on your grammar and syntax, but the essence of your research. So now, depending on the level of the English, depending on the scope of editing required, we have different services. We have different levels of servicing. Our top level service is premium editing, which takes care of your structure, your organization, your flow. Like how we said, there has to be a proper topic, then there has to be a methodology, there has to be conclusion there. So we take care of the entire structure, organization, flow of the document. Copy editing, we thoroughly check the document for editing, we thoroughly edit the document for your language and grammatical accuracy. Proofreading, it is ideal for documents that require just a final check. So you've written your document and you're confident of your English, and you know that the language that I have used is perfect, but still there is a second pair of eyes that need to be worked on, because the importance of proofreading, proofreading seems like a very small term, but believe me, when we as authors are writing the paper, there are so many errors that we cannot catch because we are so engrossed with the research, and by the time we finished writing our paper, it is so easy to miss those errors. So proofreading, though lying at the bottommost level of this pyramid, plays a very, very important role. So besides these major services, we also have a lot of publication support services. Like we have abstract writing, we have abstract editing, we have cover letter writing, formatting. Like Sir just showed you how journals have these author guidelines that he spoke about. Now, every journal has instructions for authors where they give certain instructions how your paper should be structured, what are the different parameters that you have to follow, what is the kind of English that you have to follow, whether you have to follow American English or British English, or what is the structure of the document, what template you have to use. So these different, and what style guide probably you have to use. Do you have to follow APA, CMA, CMS? What is the style guide that you need to follow? So what we think is, as a researcher, the researcher's main objective should be on conducting the research and then writing it. Yes, the research has to be your own. The paper has to be written by you. The statistical analysis, experimentation, everything has to be done by the researcher. But this part where if this part can be handled by someone external, someone professional, the researcher will get major portion of his time towards conducting the research, conducting the analysis, conducting the study, rather than focusing on these parts. So these are the services that we offer. Now, what really sets us apart? Like, who are we? Who is Accuracy, and who are the people who are going to work on these documents? That is a very important question that all of you might be thinking. Who is this person sitting in front of you who is not a researcher? Then how are we going to edit your papers and help you get published in high impact journals? Now we work on a twin editor model. What does that mean? All your documents are edited by two sets of people. The first set is subject matter experts. Now these subject matter experts are people like you who have been researchers all their life, who know the technicalities of the document. They check the document for the content. If there are any content gaps in the document, they highlight it to the author. Then the second set of editor is an academic editor. Now, who is this academic editor? They are people extensively trained into academic editing. They have been in organizations which train people on academic editing, because English as a language, the grammar that you use in English language, and the language that you have to apply when you're writing an academic paper are very different. You might be knowing your grammar rules, you might have a very good hold on the language, but The rules of academic editing is something that you need to know. Not everybody knows of them. So these are people who are trained in organizations. These are people who have extensive experience of decades of academic editing. So this is the model that we follow. This is called a twin editor model. Native English speakers. Now you might, if you go through the journal pages, most of the high impact factor journals state on their authors to instruction that get your paper edited by a native English speaker, professional native English speaker. So all our editors are native English speakers. Subject area matching, very, very important. Now, what sets us apart, what sets accuracy apart from a lot of services that are there out in the market right now is we do subject area matching. All the assignments that we get to edit are allocated to subject area experts. It's not that a medicine document will go to an engineer or anyone else in the world who has just a graduate degree or a postgraduate degree can work on these assignments. They will be allocated to someone specifically in the field. That is why we pay a lot of attention to subject area mapping, and that is why we have a pool of hundreds and hundreds of freelancers, because we need those kind of people for different subject areas, sub-subject areas. So these are the three major points that set us apart as an organization, as an academic editing organization. Now, I am not sure, sir, if you want me to go ahead with this, the topic, or should we conclude the discussion here today?